Welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today, I want to talk about the wealth transfer and the types of wealth transfers because a lot of people don't really understand, especially with the perspective that I come from. And I'm seeing a lot of people now hanging on these dates again. There's a couple people out there that have put out dates and time frames that the wealth transfer is supposed to happen in the month of September. It just seems like I have to keep saying this because most people don't really understand the wealth transfer. That's why when I see somebody who's a dreamer or a prophet and they say the wealth transfer is getting ready to start, they really have no idea what they're really talking about, because the wealth transfer entails all the various different types of markets. And a lot of people don't understand that. They just think it's just the crypto markets, right? Or gold and silver. And so they're not very specific in giving you the information. They just said it's going to start in September or it's going to happen by the end of the summer. And people need to understand how the markets work and how some are interconnected with each other. And that's why a lot of times when these people say the wealth transfer is getting ready to happen, they're always wrong. Now, this is not to say that the wealth transfer is not going to start in September. I'm just simply putting out the facts because we have to keep dealing with this. This happened last year when people were talking about the end of the summer and the wealth transfer, and some of these same people are saying the same thing they said last year as they are saying this year. But they don't truly understand. So we're going to go over some of these things. Now, the wealth transfer is just not one event, and you have to get that out of your head. All right? It's not just, oh, the wealth transfer is going to happen in September. Okay, so what does that actually mean? All right, now for me, this has been a process for me over the years of learning and really truly understanding not just the prophetic, but also the markets. And by no means am I perfect in any of this stuff, because it does take a long time to really truly learn and understand these things. And if you know how to trade and you're learning how to trade, then it's a lot easier to understand a lot of the other markets. Some of you are focused on gold. I don't focus on gold because it does cost a lot already, and I think I could get better value, but there will be a time where I will shift finances over to commodities with gold, silver, and so on, right? I have some now, but what I'm saying is there will be a time where we might have to shift our focus and take our funds out of the bank and put it into commodities. So let's go ahead and go over some of these things, right? Because when people say the wealth transfer is getting ready to start, or when they say it's going to happen in the month of September, like we have right now. So let's go over some of those things. So when you say the wealth transfer is getting ready to start, do you mean fiat currency? Do you mean the stock market? Do you mean the crypto market or the commodities market? Now, when I say commodities, do you guys even know what that means? Right? So let me give you a little bit of education. This is basically agricultural products like wheat and cattle, energy like oil and gas, and also gold, silver, aluminum, copper, etc. Then you have the bond markets, the equity and index funds, right? A lot of people don't focus on that. There's a few people that have given prophetic words from dreams and visions concerning those areas. 99% of you who are in the wealth transfer don't understand those markets, don't care to understand those markets, but if you fully understand what the wealth transfer entails and you begin to learn, you'll be able to shift your money around a whole lot better and avoid leaving your money in the banks. Right? Then you have like the banking and the real estate market. They're both connected to each other. Who owns most of the real estate? Right? So in this wealth transfer, something has to happen to real estate and the banks to cause real estate to basically crash, right? Then you have like the futures market. And so if you understand that, well, guess what? When you look at all these other things, you'll be able to make money in that market because you will know what is coming. So when somebody tells me the wealth transfer is getting ready to start, what do you actually mean? Because like in the stock market, we have prophetic words concerning certain stocks that are going to be really cheap. And also we know that there could be in everything where the stock, crypto markets, and everything goes to zero. And we have speculation on that. That would actually be the one event that if everything went to zero, whether it was caused because there was fear because of a war or because AI got involved with the stock market and got everything to crash. You know, we've talked about BlackRock and all that stuff. So we've talked about some of those things before. And we're just not expecting it, but the world does too. That's the whole thing. if you go and do your research, the introduction of AI and bot trading has caused a lot of speculation that some of these flash crashes happen because of that. That's not a prophecy thing. That is something that happens, and does happen. So people can try to criticize me, but there are flash crashes that all of us have missed. But now most of us are fully prepared if it does happen. And so all these things are tied into the economy and the job market. And the more you understand the markets, the more you understand the economy and how everything works. And so when people talk about like a recession, well, what actually triggers a recession? Well, we triggered a recession here in the United States. Of course, this administration came out and changed the definition, what it means to be in a recession. Okay, because they don't want the negative news. They don't want the negative press. Even the press caught on to that. But a lot of people who are prophesying, a lot of people who are claiming dates and time frames, they don't really understand what the wealth transfer is. They just think it's crypto and Shiba Inu and XRP, and it goes way beyond that. So if we're expecting a currency reset, they're not just going to reset it the way that it is now. They're going into a new system. They've already told you that. Not prophetically, the banks have. And it's been done through various sources that we have talked about over the years. So when somebody says the wealth transfer is going to happen by the end of the summer, well, then I'm expecting everything to crash then. Everything to go to zero, right? Because then that way, everything when it comes to the stocks, to the cryptos, to the fiat, right, to all the other areas that I'm invested in, that means that when it goes to zero, there's going to be a wealth transfer and I'm going to receive it. Right? There's not going to be any, well, move your money over to gold. Now take your money out of gold and put it into this area. And 6 months later, you're going to take your money out of this area and put it into that area because the different areas are crashing at different points during this wealth transfer. That's what I believe. I believe that the wealth transfer is more than just one event. But everything that we look at, it has to be more than one event. And if you're expecting the dinar or the Vietnamese dong or any other currency to revalue, well, they're not going to do that until they introduce CBDCs because there's no point of going over to a CBDC. There's no encouragement. There's no incentive to start purchasing CBDCs unless they are revaluing their currency. So again, when some people say the wealth transfer is getting ready to begin or they give a date, I really honestly don't think that they really truly understand the wealth transfer because it's not just one event. A lot of things can happen in one event. Like if there was a nuclear bomb that went off or China started a war with Taiwan, we've talked about those things and it could cause the markets to flash crash, right? So we know about that, but that doesn't entail the entire wealth transfer. When the Hebrews left Egypt, the wealth transfer took place over a long period of time. They left with gold and silver. They left with commodities, right? Gold, silver, cattle, whatever the case, they left with that. Then they were in the wilderness for 40 years battling all the tribes that were surrounding Israel. Then eventually they went into the promised land and conquered it within 5 years. So that wealth transfer of getting the land and getting the gold and getting all the enemy's goods and taking their cities, it took 5 years to happen. So I'm not expecting this wealth transfer for it to be one event because even if it's just one event, that doesn't mean all the wealth from the wicked is going to be taken. It's going to take more than one event to do that. And people don't understand that because not everybody is invested in the same way. Not every company is invested in the same way. Not every company may not have stop losses. So when I look at the fiat and the stock and the crypto and the commodities and the bond and the index funds and the banking system, the real estate and even the automobile market, when I look at these things altogether, all these things, there's going to be a transfer of wealth in each of these areas, just like the automobile market, which I'm keeping my eye on right now. There is an all-time high with repos, right? Eventually, the banks are going to have so many, they're going to be practically giving these cars away, okay? And when I have a lot of wealth, I'll be able to go in and buy a lot of vehicles whether they're trucks, cars, whatever, maybe for businesses, maybe, for when I go out and buy my land, I can buy construction equipment. I'll be able to buy all that stuff super, super cheap. Right? And so that's what a wealth transfer is. It's a transfer of wealth from one person to another. And it varies on how things happen. Of course, it can happen in the markets, but also when you have, say, one of your parents die, right? And they leave wealth to you. They leave you cars or houses and money and life insurance, right? That is a wealth transfer. That's what the world calls the wealth transfer from the baby boomers to this next generation. Because when the baby boomers start dying off, guess what? All that wealth that they accumulated, basically that wealth is going to be handed down to the next generations. And when we talk about taking money from the wicked and giving it to the righteous, it's not just one event. The church is not ready for the wealth transfer. So this is something else that really got me thinking, because if there are people that are saying that by the end of the summer the wealth transfer is going to happen, or by a certain date, then you're expecting trillions upon trillions of dollars to flow into Christian community, to the wealth transfer community, that will be coming from the fiat and the stock market and the crypto market and the commodities market and the bonds market and the real estate market. That means we're going to be receiving trillions of dollars in real estate by the end of September, right? If all the wealth, right? Or is it just some of the wealth? So if you're really expecting the wealth transfer to start or to happen because these people are giving you dates, then you're expecting all of this to take place here very soon. And it's just trillions upon trillions of dollars. To me, that doesn't make sense. And that's the other thing I say is this wealth transfer is a number of different events that happen over time. It's not going to happen all at once. That means that you are no longer the borrower, you are the lender. That means that the people in the wealth transfer will own a majority of the Bitcoin and some of the major cryptocurrencies. There will be new millionaires and billionaires made by the end of September. That means we're going to be owners of major companies in the stock market. That means that we're going to be the owners of massive amounts of real estate all across the world if the wealth transfer is going to happen by the end of September. This is why I say when people give these prophecies, you have to be very, very careful, and they're giving dates and time frames. And yet none of the signs are there. The only other thing that I can see is if there was the flash crash with the stock in the crypto markets. But this is the other thing. As long as you've been in the wealth transfer, no matter what your financial position is, so if you're just somebody who just works a normal 40 hours a week and you're making, $18 an hour, or you're somebody that's making $100,000 or $200,000 a year, no matter where you're at in the wealth transfer, are you even set up to fully receive it all? It's like the man with many talents. There are some people that just have dinar and they're just going to bury it and then not do anything with it, right? And then you have some people that have multiple talents where they're invested in the stock, the crypto, real estate, and so on, right? Or they're going to get into those things to increase their talents. But I'm not expecting everybody to fully participate in every single area, to do as much as you can. But the ultimate goal is for not only to take care of yourself and your family and be there to help the community, but also to preach the gospel, right? And to feed the homeless, to take care of the sick and the elderly, the widows and the orphans, right? That's what we're supposed to do. And that's all in preparation for what's to come when the church stands up as a whole and it becomes the church that Jesus is actually looking for. When people talk about the wealth transfer, they only think of certain things and they don't think of it from a holistic standpoint, as a whole. And no matter how many talents that you're invested in when this wealth transfer happens, it's the most important thing is that you do the will of God and do what the purpose of the wealth transfer is for, and not just take it for yourself. So I wanted to break some of this down for you guys because I wanted to let you guys know that there are people still saying the same thing as they did last year. You have a lot of false prophets and false dreamers. You have people that are pretending to be prophets, and because they are putting out dates and time frames and they're going to be wrong again. And not to say that nothing is going to happen in September, but we kind of go through this every year. And I'm going to share that in another video. So anyways, that's all that I have for today. I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.